In the Qarun, the story is told of a man whose wealth was so extraordinary that it defies imagination. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Consider this. 300 mules were needed just to carry the keys to the warehouses where he stored his treasures. Can you visualize it? What happened next is even more astonishing and leaves us with a timeless lesson. This man is known as Qarun, and his story offers us a valuable and eternal teaching. Are you curious to know what happened to him? His end was so surprising that it remains a source of reflection centuries later. Even today, his life and fortune serve as a powerful reminder of the consequences of our actions. Join me in exploring this story full of lessons relevant to all of us. In a region near Izmir, a buried treasure was discovered, but what no one knew was that touching it would bring great misfortunes. This is how the story of Qarun begins, a man whose wealth was second only to that of the Prophet Solomon, peace be upon him, known for the unique miracles and blessings that Allah bestowed upon him. While Solomon was the most favored in wealth, Qarun was the wealthiest of his time. His fortune became a legendary symbol of opulence, so much so that even today, the phrase "as rich as Qarun" is used to describe great wealth. But Qarun was not always like this. Before achieving his immense fortune, he lived in poverty. It is said that he was a relative of the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, and maintained a close relationship with him. Qarun had also worked for Pharaoh, who dazzled him with his power and riches. At one point in his life, Qarun confessed to the Prophet Moses his greatest desire: "I want to be a rich man. Please ask Allah to grant me this blessing." At first, Moses hesitated, aware of the responsibilities that come with wealth. However, Qarun had left his work with Pharaoh and renounced his oppressive acts. He approached the Prophet Moses sincerely, promising that if he obtained wealth, he would use his fortune to do good and help the needy. Faced with Qarun's insistence, the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, agreed to offer a supplication to Allah on his behalf. In response, Allah granted Qarun extraordinary knowledge that allowed him to amass immense wealth. It is said that he possessed the ability to transform common materials into gold, accumulating treasures that included diamonds, rubies, and other jewels of incalculable value. By the age of 35, Qarun had amassed such a vast fortune that he ruled numerous territories, surrounded by luxury and ostentation. His horses, carriages, and garments were adorned with gold and precious stones, reflecting his obsession with opulence. However, this wealth transformed Qarun. He became arrogant and heartless, forgetting the promises he had made to the Prophet Moses. His obsession with his possessions led him to wander through the vast halls of his treasures at night, delighting in the sound of his footsteps on the accumulated gold. He considered this melody the sweetest of all. The Quran presents Qarun's story as a reminder of the dangers of arrogance and ingratitude. This man, who had once lived in poverty and humbly served Pharaoh, became one of his closest associates, but his pride led him to confront the Prophet Moses and ignore his wise counsel. Qarun forgot that his wealth was a gift from Allah, who was testing him, and instead attributed his achievements solely to his own knowledge and effort. Despite repeated warnings from Moses, peace be upon him, who told him, "Do not place your trust solely in your possessions, for the same Allah who granted them to you can take them away in an instant," Qarun arrogantly replied, "All this is the result of my wisdom and effort, not from any other source." The Quran describes, "Indeed, Qarun was from the people of Moses, but he acted arrogantly towards them. We gave him such treasures that even the keys to his storerooms would have been a burden for a group of strong men." His own people advised him sincerely, "Do not be proud, for Allah does not love those who rejoice in arrogance." When the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, asked Qarun to fulfill his obligation to pay zakat and share part of his wealth with the needy, Qarun arrogantly refused. This call for justice and generosity ignited his anger, leading him to devise a plan to publicly discredit the Prophet and rid himself of his influence. Qarun, full of malice, approached Pharaoh with a proposal. to persuade a woman of dubious reputation to falsely accuse the Prophet Moses of immoral conduct. He promised this woman a generous reward, assuring her that he would give her weight in gold if she testified against him. Attracted by the promise of riches, the woman readily agreed, claiming the task would be simple. The appointed day arrived, and a large crowd gathered in the main square to witness an event organized by Pharaoh. Unaware of the plans against him, the Prophet Moses attended the gathering. At the height of the celebration, Pharaoh called him to the center of the assembly and maliciously asked, "Moses, in your religion, is adultery forbidden?" With clarity and determination, Moses replied, "Yes, it is absolutely forbidden." Pharaoh insisted, "And if someone as noble as you committed adultery, would it still be a grave sin?" The prophet firmly responded, "Of course, even then, it would be a grave and completely unacceptable sin." At that moment, Pharaoh ordered the woman to step forward and present her accusation. As the crowd watched expectantly, the prophet Moses, raising his staff to the sky, proclaimed, "O woman, speak the truth, only the truth, and fear not men, but Allah." The woman, who until then had agreed to the plan for the promise of wealth, was deeply moved upon seeing the prophet Moses' figure. Feeling the weight of his words and the greatness of his character, she made an unexpected decision. With a firm voice, she declared, "I swear by Allah that Moses never committed adultery with me or anyone else." These words struck Qarun and Pharaoh like lightning, leaving them stunned and speechless. The crowd, witnessing the event, proclaimed in unison, "We believe in the Lord of Moses." This event not only strengthened the faith of those present, but also marked the beginning of Qarun's downfall, who, with his pride and deceit, had defied Allah's will. The Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, in the face of Qarun's arrogance and corruption, offered a supplication to Allah to show his justice. Allah responded to his plea, and before everyone's eyes, a miracle occurred. The earth opened, first swallowing Qarun's accumulated treasures, and then Qarun himself. Desperate, Qarun raised his hands imploring, "O Moses, have mercy, save me." But his plea went unheard, and the divine decree was fulfilled. The richest and most miserly man of his time disappeared along with his opulence, swallowed by the earth forever. The Quran describes this event in Surah Al-Qasas 28-81-82. "So we caused the earth to swallow him and his home, and there was no group to help him against Allah, nor could he defend himself. And those who had wished to be in his position the day before began to say, 'It is Allah who extends provision or restricts it to whom he wills of his servants. If not for the favor of Allah upon us, he would have caused it to swallow us too. Indeed, the disbelievers will never succeed.'" This story serves as an eternal reminder of the consequences of arrogance and greed. Allah teaches us the importance of fulfilling zakat and sharing our blessings, no matter how small, with those in need. Wealth is not an end but a test. Centuries later, near Usak, Turkey, an unexpected discovery astonished many. A man, guided by a supposed treasure map, hired villagers to dig at a marked site. There, they found a tomb containing over 500 pieces of jewelry, believed to be remnants of Qarun's legendary treasure. Unaware of the spiritual gravity of their actions, the villagers sold the find for a meager sum of 78,000 Turkish liras. But what initially seemed like a stroke of luck soon turned into a series of misfortunes. One of the men lost his life in an accident, others went blind or fell mysteriously ill, and even those involved in selling the treasure abroad faced tragic circumstances. The collection, known as the Treasure of Qarun, eventually made its way to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, drawing the attention of Turkish authorities. After a prolonged legal battle costing millions of dollars, Turkey managed to recover part of the artifacts, now displayed in the Usak Museum. Among the most emblematic items was a winged seahorse, which had been replaced by a replica and later recovered in Germany to return to its land of origin. This modern tale echoes the divine mourning that accompanies Qarun's story. Material possessions, no matter how dazzling they may appear, must never become the center of our lives, for everything belongs to Allah, who gives and takes as He wills. If you ever visit the UNTOLD Museum, you will encounter a piece of Qarun's legendary treasure. However, it might be wise to keep your distance. You never know what could come from being near a symbol of unchecked greed and arrogance. It is said that most of this treasure remains hidden underground, and narration suggests that it will only be revealed when Al-Mahdi appears. On that day, according to the predictions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, this treasure will be distributed among the needy, fulfilling the purpose it was originally meant to serve. The love for material possessions, as the Prophet taught us, can become a barrier that separates humans from their Creator. Our mission is to clear that obstacle, remembering that wealth is a means and not an end. Enjoying the blessings Allah grants us is legitimate, but we must avoid letting these lead us to forget our responsibilities towards others and towards Allah. Because, as life itself reminds us, true friendship and sincere support are rare, especially when material possessions disappear.